Get connected, Fitchburg. We're launching Fitchburg Connect, the city's new monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Our first edition is live now. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Good evening, everyone. It is February 12th, 2026 at about 6:30 p.m. And this is the monthly meeting of Fitchburg's Transportation and Transit Commission. Call to order. We have no members of the public with us today on Zoom or in the room. So the first agenda item, and for the secretary, we have and Ariel and Gabriella and Steve and Logan. We are expecting Elizabeth on Zoom, but she is not here yet. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. On to the minutes. Thanks to the secretary, Dina, for taking care of the minutes. Any motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or additions? There was one thing that I wanted to note, which I'm not remembering it right now. Oh. I felt that it would have been good to say something about the sense of the commission under the bicycle and pedestrian plan discussion. But all we have is the motion to approve. I understand that's the practice, but it didn't seem that cut and dry to me at the time we discussed it. So that's over the dam now. The council has passed it and everything, but
and that stuff is in the referral sheet, you know, the kind of deferrals and all that happened at the other commissions in the sense of the committees.
All right. Further discussion? Hello.
I had one thing
Elizabeth is joining.
small.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, she had one thing for that.
Sorry.
You want to say
I had one thing
the minutes?
small. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We're approving the minutes at the moment. Do you have anything on that?
Yes. February 4th was Transit Equity Day because of Rosa Parks' birthday. It says it's Rosa Park Day and Transit Equity Day, but I don't think there's a separate Rosa Park Day.
Okay. Ross, you transmit that to Dina to be corrected?
Yes.
Very good. So all we need to do is insert birth in front of day. Any other suggestions? I'll take that as a friendly amendment. Are there any others? Then is slightly amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. We are on to, don't look at the minutes. Staff report.
All right. So a couple of follow-up things from our last meeting to start off with. So at stop 4443, That's stop 4443, that's the one off of north of Greenway Cross on Fish Hatchery Road that we talked about last time. There's been one crash in the last 5 years there. that involved a bus. The bus was not hit with that crash, it was just a car stopped behind the bus that got rear-ended. No other reported issues when I spoke with Fitchburg PD. And I would still recommend what we came up with at the last meeting, which was to not take any action. And Metro Transit also has no issues with that stop either.
And Ross, just to add to that, I did get one email after our last meeting about that, in favor of keeping that stop. That was the elusive person who takes it to 5 that, I can't remember if you were CC'd on that thread, but, so.
And then for our discussion about University and East Campus Mall, so there is gonna be a new shelter at that Route B stop that's going in with North-South BRT. It should have gone in with East-West BRT because that stop is used for both of those, but the historical society, or the historical nature of that building prevented a stop being put in there before, but they've figured out those issues for North-South BRT.
What's the historical building?
I'm not sure.
Is that the Chase Inn?
But it was
It was in front of the Chazen, I thought.
yeah,
I don't think of that as being historical, but
I'm not 100% sure.
it might have been the campus architect.
I think there might be if I'm remembering right, there might be a statue there that's historical. But that's
It's been solved.
Yeah. And then there are signs on the platforms that say where to go for which route. And Metro knows that that location is confusing, but they feel they have done the best they can with the setup they have to have for operations.
Mm-hmm.
So, small correction from our last meeting. We mentioned that Round Trip had a bus buddies program. Round Trip has a bike buddies program where someone who is more experienced with bike riding will help you kind of learn how to commute to work. Dane County Department of Human Services has a bus buddies program, which is basically the same thing but for buses, where someone will kind of teach you how to commute on the bus. So just if anybody's trying to find those programs, Round Trip for bike buddies, Dane County Department of Human Services for bus buddies.
I just pitched Round Trip to Promega this afternoon, and I told them I am firmly convinced, so I want to check my handouts, that I thought that they had a transit buddies at Round Trip, so I'll look into that again. Yeah. Okay.
And then Round Trip also has a how to use B-Cycle event coming up in May at McKee Farms Park. More info will be upcoming on that, but I've got multiple staff members that will be participating. So once I have more info, I'll share it this commission.
I'm on the organizing team for that. Yeah. We will start at the Senior Center. McKee Farms Park will be the ride destination and return to the Senior Center. Okay. There will be this will be an on-bike experience, and you will not have to worry about the technology. We are using the concierge service where B-Cycle brings a van full of bikes to you. Round Trip is paying for the rental of the bikes, $15 for the ride, for up to 15 people. And people who come to the 9:30, it's the first Wednesday in May, but the first Wednesday of June rain date.
That's May 6th.
May 6th. They come to the 9:30 thing, they will have a choice of a short ride down to McKee Farms Park, or they can go with the Ride for Joe, which goes about 20 miles, or 12 to 20 miles. Subsequent to that, we will have a lunch and learn at the Senior Center, where people will be taught to put the app on their phone, create an account, load a free pass, which will be provided, a one-ride pass into there, and get all their questions answered about how to handle the technological access parts of the thing. And then there may be a third event somewhat related to these two, which we might do as an adult learn to ride clinic for people that don't know how to balance on a bicycle. And they'll all be oriented towards seniors and run out of the senior center.
Madison, City of Madison passed a resolution recommending no expansion of the Beltline. That's in relation to the Beltline PEL study. And that was, I'll say it's based on Fitchburg's resolution R13324.
Following the leaders.
That's great.
Yeah, so one of their transportation engineers asked me for the language that we used, and I sent it to them, and they passed it a month later. So I'm kind of, saying A to B there.
But I thought we always do what Madison does.
There you
No,
go.
they're starting to copy
Give and
us.
take. And then speaking of doing something that Madison does, so our Vision Zero efforts, I think at the last Bike and Head meeting, there was kind of a feeling that our Vision Zero efforts were stalling and being stymied by the grant process. But in the meantime, we have gotten a new grant agreement from the federal government that does not have any of the poison pills that were in the last grant agreement. So basically there was some stuff in there that Madison was not comfortable signing. And the way this grant works is Madison signs the grant and then we sign an agreement with Madison.
They're the lead agency.
Correct. So that was kind of the holdup there, and I think everyone working on it, including myself, felt that we were not going to get anywhere with it, and they weren't going to take those poison pills out of there. But the federal government did. So there were some lawsuits involved from City of Madison. Those have also been resolved. So yeah, hope to get that agreement from the City of Madison soon.
And so that will allow the regional's transportation safety plan to go forward?
Comprehensive Safety Action Plan.
Okay, and that's via the MPO?
Yes, the MPO is leading that, and there's a bunch of other municipalities involved.
Fantastic.
That's great news.
I
So
did
we'll
not
hear-
expect that update, to be
Neither.
honest.
We'll later find out when we get to do some action steps.
Yes, so after we sign the agreement with Madison, the next step will be to put out an RFP, request for proposals for consultants to work on that plan. We've looked at that RFP in this committee or commission before, so I have a draft of that ready to go whenever I'm able to spend that money. So
Great news.
that is my staff report.
Any questions for staff?
So although it's driven by MPO, we would be separately hiring a consultant for a Fitchburg component of the work.
Correct. So the MPO is handling the grant portion of it, and we're handling the technical portion of it.
The substance?
Yeah.
So we're a sub-grantee, as it were.
Yes, but all that matters for is the grant paperwork, basically, and who
We get
we
the
sign
money.
an agreement for, yeah.
And the amount of the grant hasn't changed,
Correct.
just the language.
And
Correct.
how much was the amount for Fitchburg's portion?
It's an 80% match, I believe. I would have to look up the exact amount.
And did we budget for the 20% match
Yes.
for this budget year? Okay.
Or I believe that's coming out of it's not specifically budgeted for, but there is money
For the grant.
set aside for it, yeah.
Sounds great.
Sorry, it's been a while since I've looked at all that stuff, so I have to remember how we had
It
it.
takes time. Good things take time, I think the mayor once said, or said many times. Are there any other questions for staff?
I have a couple, because of course I do.
6, as I recall.
Well, Ross answered the one I was the most eager about, the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, so one off the list. The other big one I was wondering about is if we have an update on the county-led project on Highway MM, Rimrock, if that's still planning to be constructed at some point in '26?
Yes, it is. I actually have a voicemail sitting on my phone about technical stuff for that project. We have bi-weekly meetings for that, and their schedule is tight, but they're still planning on getting it done this year.
Okay. Are we gonna see any sort of the final designs or anything before? Well, even in an advisory capacity, if just to look at it.
Because we're here in little old Fitchburg.
Yeah.
I can present those. I have I believe 90% plans at this point, so I can kind of share those with everybody. But that is a county-led project, so they're handling the design and
That's
everything.
resurfacing and restriping, not too much reconstruction.
Correct. It's adding buffers to the road will be the same width. Curbs not moving. Curb ramps are getting fixed in places where they're not ADA compliant. Bike lanes, bike buffers, shrinking the two-way left turn lane in the center to gain a little bit of space for the buffers. So yeah, and some other improvement, new traffic signals and stuff like that, where it's just this road is old and needs
It's so
some
beat up.
work.
You know, it's a tough bike ride. I have something to add on that. I've been watching the Rusk Road or Street multi-use path project, which now comes from, there's a Beltline bike and ped overpass between the Southdale neighborhood and the area around the trailer park, just to the north of the Beltline. So there is now a multi-use path that comes east on the north side of Rusk, which is the Beltline frontage road on the north side, and comes as far as North Rusk, which is a north-south street that goes behind the Alliant Energy Center and goes north to connect to other paths. They will be connecting that further along, maybe it's East Rusk or whatever, off to the east, and it will follow Rusk over to Rimrock. And the thing that caught my ear was that they said that there will be a multi-use path built along Rimrock Road. And I was interested in whether that was east or west side and how far south it would come.
It will.
There's a signalized intersection, and there is a multi-use path that goes from the north driveway of the Revenue Building north to John Nolan Drive. But it is impossible to get on because the Revenue driveway is a slip lane, so you have to go very slow and then take a 240-degree turn to go backwards up that one-way driveway to get onto the thing. So it's little used.
I can follow up with the county and City of Madison.
And just see if that's like a near term or some fond hope that they have. Because I tried to get the city to require a multi-use path for that cottage court development on the east side of Rimrock, along their lot along their plat. And at that time I was told there was no room for a multi-use path along Rimrock, so they wouldn't make them put one in for that part, violating the long tradition of Fitchburg making people put in chunks of path that don't lead anywhere and then eventually connecting them up. Your next question, I guess.
I can just wrap up with this one. Speaking of kind of the Southdale and Rimrock Road corridor here, it's all concentrated up there. I had a request from some constituents. There's a short stretch of Maloney Drive East of Rimrock, where there's a few houses and then it ends in a subdivision in the city of Madison. They're wondering if we could have speed limit signs, ideally, you know, a speed trailer at some point. But I said, I'd say, see what we can do about speed limit signs and flags at first to note that it's 25. It's kind of the primary access to that neighborhood in Madison. But Maloney Drive in that section is Fitchburg on both sides up until about 100 feet from the end of it.
I guess I don't know if it came from you, Logan, but I think Mark Hodel, our street supervisor, Mark Hodel, sent me an email the other day and with the same request asking if we could install a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign.
Yes.
And we agreed that we should.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's been installed yet, but we're going to install one close to Rimrock.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really the property that we were just talking about, where I said that there should be a multi-use path here.
Yep.
And you're talking about right there.
Yeah, but that development there is, at this point, doesn't sound like it's moving forward.
It's not, it's stalled
Yes, so.
or completely dead, one of the two. You'd
I
have-
have hope, but it's fleeting,
Yeah,
so.
no curb and gutter on Maloney there either.
The Maloney's in the CIP for like 28 or 29, I think.
That is paired up with that development, so
Oh, so it might be,
we'll see what
Might be dead.
happens with that,
Yeah.
depending on if that development goes or not.
other questions for staff?
I was just curious what the latest update for the Fitch Rona project is. Is that still happening this year?
The plan is for that to still happen this year. We are running into some issues with property acquisition. We've sent out condemnation letters to a few properties, 4 properties total. Basically, there's path around the roundabout in our original design. And by Wisconsin state law, we cannot condemn for parcels that have multi-use path. So those parcels knew that we could not condemn, because you have to tell them that you cannot condemn. And so they did not want to
They're not willing to.
participate in our property acquisition, so we have removed the path in those areas and started moving forward with condemnation. Some of them seem like they're willing to negotiate and kind of go back to having the path there, but that's kind of our main holdup right now.
Restoring eminent domain for bike and ped projects is a top legislative priority for the bike fed. So I would like to see, if we cannot have the path, we should build it so that the path could be added later.
So that is a question that our city attorney has been working on. The road will still be built the exact same way.
Yep.
But the question is whether we can acquire the same amount of property without the path being installed at that time. But then after that, it's city-owned property, so what's stopping us from putting a path in?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So
We're not doing it now.
we're trying to avoid being sued in the future for like putting a path on city-owned property that we couldn't condemn for to put a path in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but so my thought would be that once eminent domain for bike and ped projects is restored, which was removed in the 2017 budget in the 999 amendment, then we could put it in even if we had to condemn land at that time, and they would not have any grounds to say, oh, you can't do this. But again, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to do the path when you're doing everything else, and it would make it hugely more expensive to have to do it later.
Yes.
So that's terrible.
Yeah.
But
Are the properties that we may have to go through this condemnation process for on the Fitchburg side or the town of Verona side or both?
One of each.
Oh.
Or two on Verona, one on ours, I guess.
Okay.
But, so I guess to kind of wrap up that project, we're looking at probably a delay in starting the project because we're not gonna award the project until we have all the property acquired. In theory, we could award it and then just not do any of the work on the property we don't own yet until we have it, but that's very risky. And then I've asked WISDOT for an extension to our grant to basically allow us to do this over 2 years. We haven't figured out how we would split that up yet. That's more of a, I just want to make sure that that's a possibility and our grant doesn't run out, so.
On a similar vein, Whalen Road is 26 also?
Yes.
Very good.
Yep, that should be bid fairly soon. I don't have exact dates.
This is adding paved shoulders to the stretches that don't have them between Fish Hatchery and Fitcherona. All right, now I think we're done with the staff report. Okay, traffic crash data.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen.
By Elizabeth.
Let me get to this.
So we're gonna see some things that aren't all in our packet.
Yes, the slides that aren't in the packet will be added to the minutes. There we go. So this is a review of crashes in Fitchburg in 2025 and how they compare to past years. This is something we were going to talk about in January, and I think our agenda got a little long, so we pushed it off. So I'll just kind of go through this. Feel free to kind of stop me and ask questions as we go, and I'll just tell you if I'm going to answer them later. So this first chart is crashes by injury severity. So in Wisconsin, we use the KABCO injury rating system for crashes. Ks are fatalities, so it counts as a fatality from a crash if a person dies within 30 days of the crash from injuries sustained in the crash. An A is major and incapacitating injury, like you would not be able to walk afterwards. Minor or non-incapacitating injury is you were definitely injured, but you don't experience an impact in your everyday life as badly from that one.
At least over the rest of your life.
Right. But like, say something like a broken finger, where you can do almost all of your daily tasks with some pain, but you can get things done.
So broken arm might be an A, even though it heals and you're perfectly fine?
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
C is a possible injury, so that's something where you weren't put in an ambulance at the scene of the crash, but maybe you go to immediate care a couple days later because your neck still hurts, that kind of level of injury. Basically like the police officer responding to it wouldn't be able to really assess that. And O is property damage only. So that's you kind of you hit a sign and you dented your bumper or something like that. So this chart goes from 2020 to 2025. The averages that I'm referring to here are 2020 to 2024, that 5-year cycle, and then 2025 is being compared to that 5-year average.
Does this include crashes that do not involve motor vehicles, like say between two bicyclists or a one bicycle crash?
If they filed a DT 300 form, then it would. Those type of crashes would not usually file that, especially for like a low level injury, because there's less likely to be, need insurance and stuff like that.
Investigated by the police,
Right.
etc.
So,
And are we double counting if there's 2 flavors of injuries, or is it the most severe one gets counted?
so this is counting all of the injuries that would happen.
So if I break my arm and you break your fingernail,
Yep.
that there's 2 at
Yep.
once.
In different categories, yeah.
I note that the K and A columns are the ones that we are trying to get to 0.
Correct. And as you can see, they're
not.
Double digits only. So, fatal crashes, we average 1 per year in Fitchburg. We had 2 in 2025, so I didn't put a 100% increase there because it's only 1 versus 2. Major and incapacitating injury was down by 33%. Minor injuries down 22%. Possible injuries down 12%. And then property damage only crashes, we had
Pretty damn close.
347 versus 346, so that's really no significant change at all.
And all of this happened during Ross's tenure as transportation engineer, so
Yeah.
you can take credit for it.
I think these are, all of these numbers are fairly small besides the property damage only crashes, so there's just a lot of statistical variance year to year, which you kind of can see on this next chart. In 2022, we had more B-level injuries than C-level injuries, which you obviously from this chart you don't normally see. So it just varies a lot year to year because there's only a couple dozen of each of these more severe injury crashes. So this pie chart kind of sorts by the object that was struck by the vehicle. So moving vehicles are 68% of our crashes. That's just 2 vehicles hitting each other. Rollovers are only 1%, very low percentage. Fixed objects like signs and light posts are 13%. Animals are 14% of our crashes. For all the rest of these statistics, I'm excluding deer crashes because they're very random, and that's kind of industry standard for stuff like this. But in this chart, I did include deer crashes. An object in road is a low percentage, but it's a little bit different than these other categories. It's like if a mattress falls off a truck or something like that. And then parked vehicle is kind of the biggest of the small categories at 3%.
When I saw this, I wondered if there were any pedestrians or bicyclists or construction workers that were the object that was hit.
No, not in this chart. Those are in later charts.
Okay. So it's not that there weren't any of those type of crashes?
Correct.
Okay.
This is just for objects that were hit and animals. Collision type, so single vehicle, 35%, rear ends, 28%, angle crashes, that's like not quite that's kind of like T-bone type crashes, 26%. Side swipes, 6%, that's either same way side swipes, so you're going in the same direction and a car kind of merges into you, or opposite direction side swipes where someone kind of crosses over the center line, but it's not a head-on collision. And head-on collisions are 5%. These vary a lot year to year, so these variations from the average are pretty small, except for the side swipes. But 40% of 26 is not a large number for the variance here. These are contributing factors to crashes, so you know, you can add a crash flag to these reports in community maps, and that's where all this data is from the TOPS lab, Traffic Operations Lab out of UW-Madison. They compile all of the crash reports submitted by any police department in Wisconsin, and then I filter these to Fitchburg only.
I believe our former transportation engineer works there now.
He does. Yeah. I have didn't overlap with him here, but I've talked to him a few times in that role. So
I missed that, who?
Our former transportation engineer before
Andrew
McFadden.
Oh, okay.
So construction zone crashes, the light blue is 2025 and the dark blue is our average. I'll zoom in a little bit here, I got,
Much better.
Yeah. So construction zone crashes are way down because this data set of 2020 to 2024 includes Fish Hatchery Road construction. So those years completely skew the construction zone statistic. Because normally for our road projects, the road is closed. But Fish Hatchery obviously was not closed during construction. The other ones I kind of wanted to talk about, winter road crashes are also way down in 2025. There was just not near as much snow or ice, so that was down by a lot. Other ones, speed is increased. This is really the most concerning one here to me. I kind of want to look into the crash flag and that its kind of uses in these crashes to see if maybe that's being used more by a police officer who's responding to a crash, or if speeds truly have gone up by this much in the way they contribute to crashes.
What qualifies as speed with that flag? Is it up to an officer's discretion? Like, is one person saying you're going 26 and a 25 speeding, and somebody else saying I'm not going to put it till it's 32 and a 25?
So it's officer discretion, and then there are some kind of severity indicators that they use.
So if they were cited for speeding,
right, that would be
a speed flag.
Yeah, and I believe an officer can use that crash flag even without citing someone for speeding, even though maybe they should have or could have. And then 65 plus drivers, that just based on census statistics is going to keep increasing year over year. So
yeah, oftentimes, well, we're looking at absolute numbers, but this is one of those that would be, the rate could be constant, but the population's increasing.
Right.
Same with VMT.
That one really stood out to me, the 65 plus. I did not expect it to be that high.
I apologize.
So this is a chart of vulnerable road users involved in traffic crashes. So this is where what you were asking earlier would be shown, Steve. So 2025 was actually a pretty good year for this. We average 7 bicycles involved in these crashes, and we had 7 bicycle-related crashes in 2025. And then we averaged 3 pedestrian crashes, and we had 0 in 2025.
These are if they were on a police report.
Correct. Yes. You know, most if there is an injury, most bicycle and pedestrian crashes do have a police report, just because of the much higher likelihood of severe injury. So. But again, I wanted to note on this that this is a super, super small data set. So it's kind of drawing conclusions from this are difficult. Yeah. And this is showing our intersection crashes versus total crashes and our intersections versus our total road miles. So
I did not understand this. Tell me.
At an intersection, basically, you're more likely to get into a crash at an intersection. Intersections make up 16% of our total road miles in Fitchburg. We have 27 miles of road that would be considered an intersection, so 50 feet on each side of a road crossing. And we have 145 miles of road in the city. So, so 16% of our roads are intersections, 35% of our crashes happen at intersections. So double what you would expect, basically.
If they were equally safe or equally dangerous.
Yes.
Per mile.
So, just highlights the importance of safety measures at our intersections versus on straight stretches of road.
With our, is this your last slide?
I've got a few more that.
Okay, go ahead. You might address it.
So these are kind of heat maps that community maps can generate. So this heat map is based on our real data and only shows injury crashes, not property damage only crashes. So you can kind of see from our 2025 data versus our 2020 to 2025 data, the places that are highlighted in this are basically the same. They're just a little bit dimmer in the 2025 data because there's less crashes in 1 year versus 6 years in this case. We'll get into actual intersections here in a couple of slides. So this shows our real data hotspots with the non-injury crashes. And one thing, the reason I included this is I thought it was interesting what shows up when you include property damage only crashes versus not including those. So if you look down by Oregon here, at the roundabouts at M, MM, and Highway 18, or 14, and I flip back and forth, you can kind of see that when you include the property damage crashes, those light up. That's because there are crashes at roundabouts, but they are much less severe than at a normal intersection. So you kind of get the same thing up here at the Highway 14 and Lacey ramps. They look worse in the property damage only data set because a lot of those are angle crashes because people are coming on and off the ramps. They're not kind of
direct. And they're going slow.
Right.
Because they're about to make a turn or just made a turn.
Exactly. So those are a couple of things I just wanted to highlight off those.
This is Community Maps mapping tool, right?
Correct.
Is there any significance or control over which landmarks get included in the map? It just seems kind of random and a little bit odd.
Like the little pins?
No, like why is Thirsty Goat called out? But like
that's,
you would think like a school.
So it's a Google Maps overlay.
But still, like
so it's
so they might be advertising on Google.
I suppose, yeah, that's what it is. I don't know that I necessarily want my business on the crash deal.
They don't know what map you're making.
If you zoom in further than the whole city, it shows more stuff. Different stuff.
Seems a little random.
And so this is the Community Maps has a feature where you can use it to predict where you are going to have crashes. Spoiler alert, it's where you already have crashes.
So the big question, so this is about the high injury network. The high injury network is supposed to be the places you have crashes and the other places that are like those that that have the same characteristics, but we've not had crashes at yet.
Correct.
Now, is this predictive thing using the characteristics of the segment or intersection? Okay.
No, it is
It's
not.
just extrapolating blindly.
Correct.
Okay. Good to know.
But this feature does give you your 4 or 5 worst intersections that maybe as a city you can work on. And you can see them in kind of black here.
Mhm.
So here at Fitchburg and McKee, here at Verona Road, Highway 18, 151 and McKee. This is Post Road and Fish Hatch, and then Greenway Cross and Fish Hatch.
No surprises.
So yeah, I think probably most people in this room would have picked, like, if I gave you 5 guesses, you probably would have got those 4.
Not related to the bus stop.
No, thankfully. Sorry. So this is kind of the overlay of actual crashes at those intersections. So this is in the past year, I believe, is how I had this filtered. But it kind of shows you the breakdown of crashes at these locations. So these are the 2 on McKee. This is 18 and 151 and McKee, and then this is Fitchburg Road and McKee. So from these crash types, these are kind of some of the contributing factors.
Can you tell me the colors quickly? Are they the severity?
I should have had this right.
I bet red would be
They
K.
are severity. Let me open up community maps so I don't get this wrong. So red is a fatality, orange is an injury, a major injury,
A, B, C.
yellow is minor injury, blue is suspected or
Yeah,
possible
that's what I would
injury.
expect from the frequency of the different colors.
So yeah, more blues than yellows and more yellows than oranges.
No reds.
So the 18 and 151 and McKee intersection is obviously difficult because that's DOT controlled, and it's extremely busy. The Fitchburg and McKee intersection, we are in the process of making changes to that with the development north of McKee, so that light will be timed better and hopefully reduce some of these crashes. But again, it's every leg of this intersection has a double left turn, which is not; those aren't super conducive to traffic safety.
It did remind me of a question I had earlier. All the statistics you showed us thus far, are they all the roads in Fitchburg or just our municipally owned roads?
They're all the roads in Fitchburg.
Okay.
And so then this would be data, not just Fitchburg PD, this would be if State Patrol or the Sheriff's Office responded too?
Correct, yes.
I was more interested in whether the state highways and the county highways would be excluded from our statistics, but they are included.
Yes, they are. I could exclude, oh, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Sorry. When, I should have asked this earlier, when it's 65 plus driver contributing factor, does that mean it was something age related, like seeing or reaction time, or they just happen to be a 65 plus driver?
They just happened to be a 65 plus driver, and they were deemed at fault for the crash. So it's not just if a teenager just rear ends a 65-year-old driver who was driving perfectly well, then they would not use that crash flag. They would use the teen driver crash flag. And then, so these are the 2 intersections on Fish Hatch. So Post Road is the top one, and then Greenway Cross is the bottom one. I probably should have flipped these around to be directionally correct.
We'll forgive you.
But I think out of these 2, Post Road surprised me, having more crashes than Greenway Cross. But some of the crashes that are contributing to this at Post Road are fairly far from the intersection. So a lot of it is some of the other driveways around Post Road where someone's turning out of a driveway and a crash happens. That's just an area with a lot of driveways coming out onto Fish Hatchery.
There's a lot of pedestrians that don't cross at the crosswalks in that stretch, especially north of Post.
That is very true, and there are two pedestrian crashes here out of our 3. So,
and it's only in sort of extending what Elizabeth said about 65 plus. Then it's only marked pedestrian if the pedestrian is involved.
No, that one is if a pedestrian is involved at all.
Okay.
Good. Really, for pedestrian crashes, very rarely is a pedestrian actually at fault.
Well, what Steve just said, and I observed it too, that lots of people just cross like at random spots along Fish Hatchery there because they want to go straight across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'll only be at fault, so even though the motor vehicle has a right of way, they have a obligation to not hit pedestrians.
Yeah, sure.
And so the pedestrian would have to be cited for suddenly jumping into traffic to be at fault in a pedestrian crossing crash, even if it was outside an intersection.
The numbers you have are for 2025, or the numbers for the 5 or 6 year time period. Like pedestrian 2 is 2 people in.
Yeah, it's for 2025.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's slide 13, so I'll ask my question.
Yeah.
I seem to recall from looking at high injury network design guides or whatever that what you're looking at is to classify segments and intersections by urban, rural, and also whether characteristics like run off the road and things like that. Do you have any? So there is a classification for those kinds of crashes when constructing the high injury network.
Yes.
Have you done any analysis using those categories?
So I have not. Those are not contained in
TOPS.
community maps.
Yep.
But you can do, additional analysis on crash reports and get that data.
Read the crash
It
report.
just takes a lot more time.
Indeed, yeah.
So that's what we'll pay a consultant to do for our comprehensive safety action plan.
Yep, okay.
So that's, any other questions?
So,
How real time does the data reach that tool? Like it's February of 2026, so.
Usually in a day or two, a crash is uploaded here. If it's a fatality, it takes longer, sometimes about a month, because they, the police wait to, they file an initial report, but then they have to do a lot more investigation with fatal crashes.
and the person could die within 30 days and still be a red dot.
Right, and so that might, it might change if they upload it after 2 weeks and it's a serious injury, and then it might change to a fatal. So,
So we already have, incidents that occurred in 2026.
we do.
Yeah.
So, do you see any role for the commission in further analyzing this or taking action on these data?
So I think this is just kind of good data to have in your mind, especially once we start moving forward with the Vision Zero process, and just to kind of know that our police department uses this pretty frequently if they're trying to figure out enforcement priorities. The hotspot maps especially are useful for that. And then you can filter by just speed related crashes and say, okay, I'm gonna go sit out here with a radar gun tonight because this is the most impactful and not necessarily like, you can use crashes instead of just saying, oh, people go the fastest on this road. They're driving fast and not hitting anyone.
anything.
It's pretty incredible that they track this data. How long is this, do you know how long this has been happening? Maybe this is something that happens in every state, but it seems
Yeah,
great that this exists.
I think there's one of these tabs up at the top does have how long they've been doing this, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
Not every state has a top slab.
Yeah, it's,
One of the benefits of having a world-class university a few miles north.
the data is so key to us to be able to make decisions. Like, if we don't know where the problems are, there's no way, you can have anecdotal evidence, but that's frequently misleading, or it's sometimes misleading, I guess, but it's great. Thanks for giving us the rundown.
Ross, how does this then affect, if at all, the police department's high-frequency crash areas? I just happened to be looking at that, like the PD's traffic concerns map the other day. And 14 and Lacey wasn't on there, and neither was the ramps, or I guess, MM14 is. Okay, so, but MM and McCoy is on there, which I think includes the 14 ramps, the two north legs there, but like Lacey and 14 wasn't on there. And I'm pretty sure I saw an angle crash there on the way home again today. So I'm just curious, like I think there were 30 crashes based on the police department's stats at the interchange in 25. Which is higher than, a pretty good number. So I'm just kind of curious what our threshold is for when something becomes a high frequency crash area and if that's related.
So I don't know what the police department uses for thresholds for that, but it's the same, they're using the same data because every crash report from Fitchburg PD goes into community maps. So they're working off the same data. I don't know exactly how they're interpreting it.
All of this is public property, right? If there's a fender bender in the Hy-Vee parking lot, does not show up, or would it?
If there's a police crash report, it does. All that data had that stuff filtered out. And those crashes are very hit or miss based on whether you file a police report or not. So.
Any other questions for staff or discussion about this? Very informative, thank you.
I guess because we were talking about it the other day, and it's a recent instance with pedestrians, and we were talking about it with Shatchery too, being in a crosswalk versus some other place on a road. And I understand that the pedestrian numbers are small, but it just sort of, because of recent events, comes to mind as far as, we can make improvements to crosswalks. We can add RFBs, we can do other things like that. But if our pedestrian specifically was not at crosswalks, then it may not help us in terms of those numbers.
Yeah, there are interventions you can do. CF the fence in front of East High on West Wash to say, okay, you are not crossing here, you are crossing at the intersection, please.
Yeah. If you ever travel to Las Vegas, there's no way you're walking across the strip at grade because they've put like barriers all the way down both sides of the street because people just walk out in front of cars. But, barring that, how do you gauge, if you focus on pedestrians, how do you gauge whether improvements to crosswalks and intersections is going to help?
Some things that you do at intersections reduce speed on the straight sections of road as well, like curb bump outs, just reduce the speed.
Okay.
Generally, we focus on those, like getting pedestrians out visible to cars so they're more visible at the crosswalk. But when you put something that narrows the road, cars are going to go slower.
Isn't that going to be contrary though to BRT on fish hatchery? Like you wouldn't have that tool on fish hatchery given the BRT intentions.
Correct.
Narrowing
when the bus lanes.
Narrowing typically is done where you have allow street parking.
Sure.
And so you narrow at the intersections and maybe at the fire hydrants where people can't park anywhere. And it doesn't narrow your travel lanes, and it mustn't interrupt a bike lane if there is one.
And you generally wouldn't do curb bump outs on a multi-lane road either, because you know, you're not really getting at the center lanes with the curb bump outs. So it's, multi-lane roads and having transit, it's, you know, everything's a competing priority. So.
Elizabeth, anything?
No, but this was very interesting, so thank you.
Okay, transit, I guess.
All right, I will share my screen again.
So the new things were those intersection dot maps, right?
Yes, yeah. So I'll get those added to the minutes so everyone can see them. So we've gone over this data once before in the third quarter of 2025, but this is our bus data from Metro Transit, and it now includes fourth quarter of 2025, and the year totals are all correct now since we've got a full year worth of data. So really just as a kind of quick overview, most of this stuff is what you would expect based on the other 3 quarters, so not much has changed in the fourth quarter. So happy to answer any questions based on this data.
What are free fare trips? Just people who don't pay, or is there some category of free fare trips?
So that is if you register as a fare, but you have a discount or something, that it's free.
Oh.
So some organizations, get free fare cards from Metro for like promotional purposes or something.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
So if they paid, I'm just sort of jumping on that then, if my organization decides to provide my employees with $1 million worth of free fare trips and they take them, then those would just count as the free fare trips, but the revenue for that wouldn't ascribe to Fitchburg.
I believe those would count as revenue trips because the way Metro does that is they would just load up, your employer would just load up fare cards or something like that.
Okay, so then I guess part of what I'm getting at is would the revenue ascribe to Fitchburg if the employee, would they have to board in Fitchburg, or would all the revenue just go to Madison regardless of where the employer sat?
This is if they board in Fitchburg.
Yeah. So, but that would.
I guess you're asking like if they work for the university and they live in Fitchburg.
Right.
And they have some sort of
free fare, yeah. Are they
from the university?
Does the fare that would have been paid for that, that paid like in bulk up front, get to Fitchburg, or does it stay in Madison?
I believe that would be counted in the Fitchburg revenue trips. I can ask Metro that question. I don't know.
Okay. For sure. Okay.
I think that the bigger question is, what the heck are they talking about with free fare trips? Because the cards that the students and the UW employees have do get billed when they get swiped. Metro bills per ride for that ride, and if they swipe again, counts as a transfer. So I guess we have transfers on here. I just wonder whether what they're really counting for free fare.
Yeah. Okay. That would have been an easier way for me to ask the question. Like, what are those? And anyway, too, what are transfers? Like, is that revenue or is that not revenue? Like,
well, you get to ride for 2 hours, I think.
Yeah.
And so the new fare capping says if you swipe again, even in another part of town,
Yes.
within the 2 hours, it counts as a transfer.
Okay.
Oh, good. With fare capping, if it's more than 5 rides a day, so the 6th ride is free. It could be fares that are not charged due to fare capping, more than 5 per day, more than 1 in 2 hours, more than whatever a monthly pass is.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, that'll be a good thing to find out if we're gonna interpret these quarter after quarter.
It's a big increase in paratransit from first quarter and the rest of the quarters. Is there any reason, do we know why that might be?
It is a big increase. We don't know. I asked Metro about that, and they didn't have
Any reason?
If we had another year to compare to, we could see if it was seasonal.
It's not seasonal.
Okay.
We have other years of data that it's about even across the board for each quarter, and then there are other years where it drops in, the third quarter. Not as much as this, where it's like literally less than a third of our average.
Yeah.
But it'll drop by a noticeable amount, a few hundred trips.
It'll be very interesting to see how this changes in the third quarter of this year when we increase service and our paratransit eligibility area.
And I assume Metro's prepared for the fact that that could be a significant jump with increasing the fixed routes in Fitchburg.
Yes, I mean,
They'll prepare for that.
yeah, that's all part of, we have to pay for
Why is yours that color?
the extra service,
Yeah.
so.
My concern would be more their capacity to handle additional service. Because it's opening like a huge amount of both just all sorts of residents that didn't have access to it before are gonna have access to it.
Are they city
Right.
of Madison vehicles?
I think
They
they're,
contract for
For
paratransit now.
paratransit? Yeah, it's contracted.
It's contract, so anything in Fitchburg or in Madison would be an independent contractor
Yes.
that they would have to have the heads up that they might need more buses or more drivers or.
And some of these trips might be already being taken using the very same contractors, Transit Solutions or whomever.
Right.
But now they're going to be paratransit rides instead of fee-for-service rides or.
That's a good point.
But then where does the passenger revenue from paratransit come from? Like, why is there revenue?
They pay.
So
A
it's not
paratransit ride is, I think, $3.75.
I think that's correct. I'd have to check.
Instead of $2. Or instead of $1 if you're old.
And the operating
Or young.
But you don't necessarily need to be a senior citizen to be on paratransit.
Correct, right.
And the operating expenses would essentially be what Madison was paying to the contractor for the rides in Fitchburg.
Correct. The operating expenses are what we are paying Madison to coordinate and pay that
Yes.
contractor. So there's some Madison staff
There's
time wrapped up in
overhead
there is what I'm saying.
associated with it.
Yeah.
Because we don't have our own dispatch for paratransit.
when we apply for state aid
Mhm.
for transit, is paratransit like a part of that application that's very specific?
Yes.
And is it financed in a different way? Or?
It's not financed in a different way. It's all the same application because paratransit is required by the state for all-day fixed route service. You have to have paratransit. So there's literally just a page on the public transit assistance grant application that I put in all these paratransit numbers.
Okay. But it's not like there's additional state aid if you have a significant number of paratransit or some proportion of it or, I don't know if they evaluate that in any particular way.
I mean, it's all wrapped up into their algorithm
Okay.
for the PTAP grant. And then there are other grants you can apply for. Like if you run your own paratransit service and you want to buy a new bus or, you know, operations and stuff like that, so. Interesting. Any other questions on this?
Any other questions?
Does Madison give us Madison's data too? Like, if we had an opportunity some time to look at them side by side and see like how Fitchburg as a transit user compares to Madison?
They don't. I could ask them for that.
Yeah, it would be interesting, I think, the next time we looked at this to just look at what a quarter in Madison looks like versus a quarter in Fitchburg.
I think a quarter in Madison is gonna blow our yearly numbers away.
I'm sure. But I guess in terms of like, you know, the miles and the revenue and.
Yeah.
And part of what prompted me to do that is if I actually look at the paratransit numbers and like the revenue miles and the revenue hours and how many trips there are, it varies a lot. Like either the trips are much longer or shorter in some quarters versus others, or it's some odd data that there's 2,000 trips in the third quarter, but the number of miles is half of what it is in, say, the second quarter.
Say that last part again.
Total miles.
on the web.
What? Don't do
Not
that.
you, Siri.
Total miles in paratransit, third quarter, 4229.
Mm-hmm.
Revenue trips, 2,000.
Yes.
But
okay.
in
I see what
the
you mean.
prior quarter, almost the same number of trips,
Yeah,
but
yes.
double the number of miles.
Mhm.
So just like,
Mhm.
I assume that we're only seeing ones that originate in Fitchburg. If it ends up somewhere else, then that's like, do the miles stop when they leave Fitchburg, or is it all the miles to wherever the destination was?
So for paratransit, it's, let me look at our contract. I believe it's split up between the start and end point, if it's in a different municipality.
Okay.
So if somebody starts in Fitchburg and takes paratransit to Sun Prairie, we don't pay for all 30 of those miles.
Okay.
It's split up in between. I would have to look at our contract to remember exactly how, if it's half and half, or I believe it's half and half.
Sure.
Because I don't think if there's a municipality in the middle, they don't pay for it at all. Yeah.
Okay.
So they do half and half to make it simple. Otherwise, there's going to be it's
more overhead
to calculate, by route and all that stuff.
So do we think, either from this or from statements by Metro staff, that our system is performing well, that we have a good load factor, that we have a good cost recovery, that transit is becoming more popular?
Mm-hmm.
Whether more people are riding transit after Mrs. Rotman's escapade down to the Chazen.
So ridership is up on the BRT routes, and that ridership is also up on the B, which is kind of in effect a BRT route right now, just without the fancy stations. It's same frequency, same amount of buses on that route as it will be when BRT is fully in place. So on those routes, ridership is up, and I don't know on like individual routes besides the B about ridership percentages, but system-wide ridership is also up after the network redesign. And then there was another part of your question
Well,
that I had some.
I was talking about cost recovery and
Yes.
load factors and so on. What we like is buses going where people want to go, so lots of people ride them. And is that happening in Metro's view or your view?
So, yes. One thing with Fitchburg is that obviously it's at the end of all of the lines that are in Fitchburg, especially the B. The buses all have to have enough room to pick up all the people once you get into Madison, once they get out of Fitchburg. But based on those factors, Metro is happy with our routes performance in that way. And they have no qualms about, you know, extending further down to Triverton Pike with the B, which if you were worried about ridership and, you know, mileage on your buses, that extending it even further wouldn't be a good idea.
Right.
And then as far as cost recovery, they are collecting less fares than they expected. We are kind of insulated from that because we have a contract with Metro that we pay per mile of, per hour of bus use. So.
But don't we get the benefit of the boardings within Fitchburg? So if there are less boarding, okay.
Those get kind of knocked off of our bill. But in Madison, they're seeing less.
They're getting
fares
less
being
cost
collected
recovery than they want.
Would expect, yeah. That was part of the $6 million
hold.
budget shortfall, yeah.
Well, now you made me think of another question. So, like, this is just Fitchburg. So it says revenue miles, let's just look at Q4, it says 45,612 revenue miles in Fitchburg. But the total miles is 53,000. So what are those other miles? Like, what is it that isn't a revenue mile?
So if a bus on the, like an electric bus on the B has to drive back to the bus garage to charge, that would be counted in there.
Deadheading.
Yep.
It doesn't mean the bus is empty. It doesn't mean like, well, since this is a mile with no passengers on it, that's a.
Revenue miles are miles that it doesn't say out of service.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's available for boarding, it's a revenue mile.
Yep.
Okay.
Presumably that will go down when they put in an electric charger at Triverton and aren't having to drive all the way back.
That's the reason they drive back,
Yeah. And then there's also, you know, if a bus breaks down, they have to send another bus out to take over its route. That's in there too, that kind of stuff.
Do they still use, since the redesign, what they used to call extra buses? You go down Park Street toward campus, and there'd be a bus idling there, and it would be like using the current system, it'd be BX. And when the buses are full, they would send buses nose to tail down, and those extra buses would just be in the center part of the route where the buses are very crowded. Now, maybe that doesn't happen anymore, because it's worse than an articulated bus because it takes two drivers. But maybe they have less of a need.
So they do still do that, less so on like the B, because there are articulated buses that can
Every
just hold
15
more
minutes,
people.
yeah.
But if a bus has to skip a stop because it's full, if that happens enough times in a day, you know, they might not do that for one skipped stop, but if you have to skip two in a row or, you know, 2 out of 3, then they would send out an extra bus. I'm not sure if they still use the BX designation or if they just figure there's gonna be people standing there and they'll pick them up at whatever time they get there.
No. All right, see no further discussion. We'll see this again next quarter, I guess.
Yep.
Thank you. We are into Common Council report.
All right, nothing transportation or transit related from our meeting on Tuesday. As I scroll through the minutes on the 27th, I know off the top of my head, that was when we approved the bike and ped plan. Let's see what else.
The other commissions didn't end up voting on or they hadn't voted on the bike and ped plan when it got to us?
Correct.
Did they ever take action?
It went back to the Bike and Ped Commission. They scheduled a special meeting and council moved their consideration back 2 weeks so they could hear from the Bike and Ped. The community, what's it called? Community Equity Committee never did weigh in on it. And that's probably appropriate since that committee was formed after the fact, after the whole process had started. Although equity is very important, they would have had to do a lot of catch up.
All right.
Sorry.
No, that's exactly what we're here to do, is get the
questions.
updates. Yeah. We approved a resolution approving 2025 Transit Fund Budget Amendment, State Aid, Mass Transit, and Metro Transit Service Funds. I would have to
explain that.
Yes, please.
So basically we were, I don't remember the exact numbers, but about $15,000 short on our budget estimate for our payments to Metro. But we were also $75,000 low on our budget projection for how much money we were going to get from the state. So
that was
just
good.
Yeah, we just had to amend the budget to increase both those numbers by $15,000. It was $14,000 and some change to make the budget make sense.
Still balanced.
We had all the money to do it. We just have to get council approval to change the budget. Yep.
And I think those are the extent of
Those are the highlights?
Yeah, unless you want to hear about the copier that we
No.
released.
That would be out of order. Okay.
That's what I get gavelled down for?
Yes. Ross, I guess Bike and Ped Commission, you were not there and I was.
Not.
Oh, I should have looked at their agenda.
I have it up if you
Okay, good.
So approval of the bike and ped plan.
That
And
was
then,
a special meeting.
yep, and then update from the governor's bicycle coordinating council.
Yeah, Andy Potts chairs that and gave a report similar to the ones we're hearing right now.
So
Projects like, when the Stewart Tunnel and the Badger State Trail gonna be reopened and things like that. There's
When's it reopening?
things like that. There was some talk about there's been some action on the connection of the Madison Bikeway System, the Glacial Drumlin Trail. So you saw that in the news, and that was one of the subjects of that report. Can't remember what else Andy said. Sorry.
it doesn't say on the DNR website when it's gonna reopen.
It doesn't.
What we are hoping for is construction starting. So it was fully funded by the building committee. And I thought they had the engineering done, so.
Yeah,
It might be in property acquisition or something like
the
that.
hills on that section of the Ice Age Trail are about that tunnel.
I
Those
know,
roads-
Tunnel Road is up there. Okay, that's Bike and Ped. Gabriella, plan.
Plan Commission, we did a rezone and a preliminary plat for, I can't remember what this is called. It's gonna be on Notre Dame Drive, it's near McGaw Park.
The Irish 1855.
The Irish 1855, yeah. That's about 25 single-family homes. It's gonna complete Notre Dame Drive through to Lacey Road, so it should improve the traffic flow in the area. And it's a plot that's been zoned for single-family for many, many years. But they're gonna build it out there. And then we also did, updated the PDD for a Grace. They are building a dementia village. You may have heard it in the news. It was kind of hitting the news waves recently. They're removing about half of their hospice beds and replacing it with the dementia village, and then also some apartment buildings for their staff. And then the last thing we looked at was updated the community comprehensive development plan, did a rezone and a certified survey map for the Jamestown Quarry. That's the area that's on McKee and Fitchrona. There's activity right now because they're building the 4 businesses that front McKee Road. This was really focused on the lots behind that. Originally, it was gonna be one single big box store, but they have since changed that, and now it is going to be a row of 3 to 4 commercial stores.
Junior boxes, as they say.
Yeah, junior boxes plus a small like ancillary one that would be like a drive-through, like a Starbucks or something. I don't think that's actually what it is, but kind of like a drive-through service area. And then behind that is actually going to be homes, more apartment buildings.
Another Texas donut.
Yes, same developer, Corey Frank, who's doing the Texas wraparound that's behind the quarry. It's right next to there. And you know, there's single-family homes right behind it, but they're not as concerned about it because the grading changes in that area are so big that the apartment building will be completely significantly set down. So like the visual difference between the single-family homes and the top of the building is not going to be. It's not like being next to a giant apartment building. It's just not going to look like that in that way. But there is a lot of conversation about the interaction between that apartment building and the back of the commercial lot, and they have a lot of work yet to do to make that work. So
to make it desirable, the back of the buildings look desirable enough for people who want to live in the apartments.
So we amended it was an amendment of the PDD GIP, but there's a lot of steps that have to be taken before the SIP, and we asked, I mean, it was probably an hour and a half or more of conversation at Plan Commission, maybe more than that, but it was, so that they have a lot of work to do, I think, to make it into a position where the SIP will pass. But they're moving along, so, and that's all. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. I believe they released the RFPs for a zoning code rewrite and comprehensive plan update. So that's pretty big news for the planning department.
You have coming up a land division for the new phase of Uptown, right?
I am not sure.
Yeah, I was noticing that in the consent agenda going out to you. Would it be last Tuesday? And so that was kind of interesting. I was wondering, you could look for this, Gabriella, when it comes up, is that the neighborhood plan for Uptown, which is called the Nine Springs Neighborhood Plan, had a reserved area for a transit station at the northeast corner of the railroad tracks and Central Park Place. And it appears that that's not still in there. And I would be very interested to know if that was abandoned, because the one down in McGaw Park, they're swearing up in McGaw neighborhood, they're swearing up and down that at the southeast corner, did I say northwest? Northeast quadrant, down at the southeast quadrant of Lacey and the railroad tracks, the developers of Hartung Field swore that there was still room for the transit station, and we want to maintain that.
Could you send me an email? Would you mind doing that just so I
might have an answer for that. I'm fairly certain for the Uptown one at Central Park, there is still room on whatever that outlot is at the northeast corner of the railroad tracks in Central Park to have a transit station there.
Okay.
Because I had asked Deanna that question when we did the preliminary plat for the neighborhood.
So that takes care of my action item. Sometimes transit stations are imagined as having great fields of parking for people to drive there and take the train someplace, but these would not be envisioned to be that way. They would be more neighborhood serving, walk or bike or get dropped off, but not fields of parking like, you know, metro stations are sometimes. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
that'll be it.
Okay, any questions about plan? Okay, other questions? Future agenda items. Comprehensive safety plan, of course.
That will be, yeah, not the next agenda, but it'll be on there when it gets here. The other one I had, that's not really for our next agenda either. I'm working on an ordinance change for traffic impact analysis guidelines. Right now, by our ordinance, we can only require a traffic impact analysis if a development is on an arterial or a county or state road. Right now, I ask developers to give me a TIA, and they do, but I can't require it by ordinance. So I'm gonna change that.
Okay, can you give us an example of something that should have had a TIA and you asked for it and got it, but wouldn't be required? That's not on one of these?
So No Oaks Ranch,
Okay,
where we were just talking about on Central Park Place.
Yeah.
Per our ordinance, I think I am not able to actually require a TIA there. And just for the record, a TIA is like when you have a new development, you have to quantify all the traffic that that development is going to generate, all the people who are gonna drive to your new gas station or drive to work from the apartment buildings. And then it has recommendations on how to build your intersections around it to
so then there's
move the
modeling
traffic.
based on that. And then you come out with trips and
Yes.
turning movements from the model.
Yep.
And then you have to design for that, right?
Yep, exactly. So, and then we don't have like any guidelines that I can give to developers. I just have to tell them the stuff that I want for each individual development. So we're gonna develop guidelines.
Standard operating procedures so that it's not a one-off every time.
Exactly. So that will come to this commission when it is ready to be voted on.
There was an idea for an ordinance to allow us to post speed limit signs and make that the law of the land instead of having to put everything in our code of ordinances. How's that coming along?
That I need to follow up with our city attorney on.
Oh, it's in her office?
Yeah, that's wrapped up with some parking code changes, I believe.
Same thing, right?
Yeah.
Because right now, our ordinances say shall be no parking from 400 feet from this intersection, you know, and that's all enumerated. And then, so you if you wanna make no parking or allow parking, you have to change the ordinances and the signs. And we wanna just change the signs.
Yeah. So right now, staff is comfortable operating with placing signs and not having to update our ordinance all the time because that's the way state law is written.
Okay.
But we do need to clean up our ordinances on that.
Can we get 25 or 20 miles on Research Park by?
This sounds a lot more like current agenda items than future.
Yeah.
Well, just saying. Okay, it's a next meeting for which we don't have any agenda items right now. A good one to cancel?
It might be, yeah.
All right, so why don't we look out for things that council might send us for the next meeting, and if they are less than urgent, then we can take one of our 2 cancellations in March. That seem like a good strategy?
So we're not canceling it yet, we're figuring out if we're gonna
Yeah,
cancel.
Ross.
A tentative cancellation.
Ross supposed.
TBD.
Yeah, well, you really don't know if we have anything from council until the packet goes out for the things that go out.
You know beforehand. Yeah. I can let you know beforehand.
Yeah, yeah, we'll figure it out so people can free up that evening and not have to plan on coming here if we don't know. But things get referred out and then they get on our agenda. And so that will probably happen on the 24th.
And nothing we referred on Tuesday is coming here. So.
Okay.
I have another announcement too.
Go ahead.
The committee of whole meeting, February,
25th?
not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, February 25th. We are actually gonna get a presentation, it's a co-meeting with the Village of Oregon trustees. We're gonna have it at the Oregon Village Library, and we are getting a presentation from the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission. Both of our municipalities hired CARPC to do an analysis of southern Fitchburg, potential development down there. If we were to develop that part of Fitchburg, we would have to get water and sewer from Village of Oregon. Because we are not able to run lines down far enough to service that. But the school district in Oregon bought land a couple of years ago to
Mhm.
build a new elementary school in that area. And then
Middle
there's-
school.
Yeah, middle school. And then there are several developers that are actively wanting to move forward with it, but obviously the limitations of our infrastructure stop that from happening. This has been discussed on and off for years, but anyway, we both hired a CARPC to investigate if this would be something that would be remotely feasible, and we'll get a presentation on that on February 25th, so if you're interested.
This was shades of the old so-called Fitchburg, Oregon Business Park.
Yeah.
That was to be around that interchange, and back when I was on the council.
Yeah, it's
before I
been
was
on and
mayor,
off for many years.
It was killed, we thought, permanently. The idea being water and sewer for one thing, prime farmland for another. The sewer lines coming even from the village of Oregon would be rising out of the ground because it's so flat there, to maintain their slope. So you probably need lift stations. Well, CARPC will tell you this.
Exactly, well, yeah, we'll find out. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the ultimate.
Yeah, it will be interesting.
But it's certainly relevant, like there's gonna be potential development, so it's.
We look forward to your report at a future TTC meeting.
In April.
March Committee of the Whole will have a presentation from Round Trip and from Metro,
Oh,
so.
Thank you, yes, I was gonna ask if you were confirmed, yeah.
I'm
should
not
all
confirmed
come.
on the Metro part, but I've asked.
Yeah, we're crossing our fingers because
Said
it'd
they're
be
gonna-
fun for it to be just a transit
and
oriented.
then we can find out if there's a bus buddy program.
You will ask directly.
All right. Any further announcements, Elizabeth? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Seeing none, a motion for adjournment would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
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 All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.